At this moment, allow me to introduce our third speaker. He will speak about the best practices for road construction projects. He is a licensed, he is the 12th placer in the civil engineering licensure exam, and he also placed fourth in the registered master plumber licensure exam. Is the proprietor and project manager of Creante Construction, wherein they have projects on concreting, FCD, and building projects. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Engineer Jonathan M. Quirante. A virtual round of applause, please.
Kaya mo yan.
You're still on mute, sir.
Thank you very much, Ms. Aure. And good afternoon to the panelists and the participants of this webinar. First of all, I would like to ask for your understanding for it's my first time to kind of deliver or be a speaker for this prestigious event. So let me share my screen for my presentation. Sorry for the delay. My topic for this afternoon is the best practices for road construction. As an introduction, construction of roads involves the paving, rehabilitation, and or reclamation of degraded pavements in order to achieve a state of good repair and increase road traffic safety. Road construction involves the use of asphalt, liquid asphalt, concrete, soil stabilization, rebar, paving and pavement recycling machines, and other road repair materials. Roads are the arteries through which the economy pulses. By linking producers to markets, workers to jobs, students to schools, and the sick to the hospitals. Roads are vital to any development agenda. Next slide. Here are the components of a road pavement structure. First is the subgrade. Next is the subbase, base course, surface course or wearing course, road shoulder, and road drainages. Based on my experience, here are the factors that can attribute to a good roadway. Number one is road plan and design. No? So it is very vital that the road or the carriageway has a very good road plan and design. Next is the materials. Of course, it will involve quality control and the choose of proper materials to be used. Third is equipment. As they always say, there's always right equipment for the right job. Four is the manpower. For me, this is one of the most important also because skilled manpower will produce good finished product. Last but not the least, it is the management during the implementation of all these resources that will give the optimum result for a good roadway. Next slide. Now here's the typical road cross-section on government projects. The illustration above shows the concrete pavement. As you can see, the subgrade course, the subbase course, and the next layer is the base course before you construct the Portland cement concrete pavement on the top. And then there's the road shoulder and the curbing gutter and of course the drainages and the sidewalk. At the bottom part of the screen, you can see the asphalt pavement. Also, you have the subgrade course, which is the first level. Then the subbase, the base course, and then you have the bituminous concrete surface course, which is the binder course. and bituminous concrete surface, which is the wearing course. That is the topmost layer. Also, you have the road shoulders, the curb and gutter, sidewalk, and the drainages. Next slide, subgrade. So what is subgrade? Subgrade is the in situ soil, meaning it is the natural grade or natural soil. This is mostly applicable on road openings where you will start with the in situ soil. For the subgrade to be suitable, it shall contain no muck, peat, sod, roots, or other deleterious materials. It should be sufficiently stable to prevent excessive rotting and shoving during construction. It shall be prepared and extended to the full width of the roadway. This is the most common practice here in Cebu because you know, we have right-of-way problems, and even in the rural areas, no, new road openings, no. So the preparation of subgrade is usually limited due to road right-of-way problems. But the wider, the better unta to, para, you know, the road will be protected, and also it will be drained properly. So here is the subgrade material requirement as per DPWH standard specifications. It shall not contain a soil with liquid limit exceeding 80 and or plasticity index of 55. So you can obtain this by doing materials testings in the laboratory. No? It must not contain a natural water content of more than 100%. It must have a density of 800 kilograms at least or higher. So the higher, the better. It must be a soil that can be properly compacted and as determined by the engineer. So for density, you can conduct field density test, no? Or you can also conduct laboratory testing in determination of the density. Subgrade preparation includes, the next is subgrade preparation. So subgrade preparation is includes cut, fill, and grading to achieve the desired road profile. Usually it is in accordance to the plans or specifications given by the agency. So prior to the preparation of the subgrade, all culverts, cross drains, ducts, and the like, including their fully compacted fill, ditches, drains, and drainage outlets, must be completed. So there's a proper compaction method for subgrade. Compaction shall commence at the outer layer of the road, leading towards the center, and then each strip should overlap 1/3 of the width of the roller. The depth of loose fill material should not exceed 20 mm. So if you have a fill greater than 200 mm, you must do it gradually. If it's 400 mm, you do it in 2 layers. So maximum is 200 mm. Rolling shall continue until the surface is smooth, leveled, and of uniform texture. Any irregularities that develop shall be corrected by loosening, removing, or adding material until such surface is smooth. At all places, not all accessible to the roller, the material shall be compacted thoroughly with approved dampers or compactors. And the maximum dry density of the compacted subgrade must achieve at least 95% compaction. For DPWH, they have minimum test requirements for subgrade preparation. It is one set of 3 in situ density tests for every 500 square meters. of each layer of compacted field. Note, avoid using swelling soils as they can expand and contract with moisture variations. It will affect the integrity of the slab and the pavement above them. So finally, I experienced soil in one of our projects that will swell, no? If it gets wet, so mura siya burot, no? So it should be removed and it should be replaced with a more stable filling material. Next is the sub-base. Sub-base course is the next layer after the subgrade. No? These are the DPWH standard items for sub-base course. We have item 200, which is aggregate sub-base course. We have item 206, a chemically stabilized road mix sub-base course. We also have crushed stones, crushed lags, crushed or natural aggregates. Sub-base material must consist of hard, durable particles. Sub-base materials must be free from vegetable matter, lumps, or balls of clay. Then we have the base course. Base course, these are the DPWH standard items for the base course. We have item 201, aggregate base course. Item 202, crush aggregate base course. We have item 203, which is the lime stabilized road mix base course. Item 204, Portland cement stabilized road mix base course. Asphalt road mix base course. 206, chemically stabilized road mix base course. 207, Portland cement treated plant mix base course. No, the most usually used in our projects is the item 201, which is the aggregate base course, and I also encountered using item 204, which is a Portland cement stabilized road mix base course. The usual material used for aggregate base course is a mixture of 40% weathered limestone and 60% crushed stones or gravel. That is when conventional base course is not readily available. Here in Cebu, based on my experience, there is no one material that passed the item 201 requirement. So we do blending. Next, here is the construction method, spreading, compacting, and finishing for sub-base and base course. Immediately following final spreading and smoothing, each layer shall be compacted to full width by means of an approved compaction equipment. So for the compaction method, again, rolling shall be parallel to the road center line, and compaction must begin at the outer edge of the road base. This time, rolling must overlap by at least 1/2 of the weight of the roller. The maximum thickness of loose material to be compacted should be 150 mm. So if the thickness requirement for these items is greater than 150 mm, you have to do it by layers. Compaction shall continue until the surface is of uniform texture and the maximum dry density is obtained. Any irregularities that develop shall be corrected by loosening, removing, or adding material until the surface is smooth. At all places not accessible to the roller, the material shall be compacted thoroughly with approved dampers or compactors. The minimum field density test for sub-base and base course is 100%. It is derived by getting the laboratory compaction test of the item or the material compared with the field density test done at site. The moisture content of the material shall, if necessary, be adjusted prior to compaction by watering. So usually, based on my experience as materials engineer, we get the maximum dry density when the moisture content is around 6 to 8%. But I don't know if it's correct all the time, but based on my experience, that's it. Next is the surface course. It is the actual roadway. So it provides adequate tire friction, generating minimal noise in urban areas. It provides resistance for penetration of water and abrasion. Here are the DPWH standard surface course as follows. First is the aggregate surface course. Next is the asphalt pavement. Next is the concrete pavement. First of the I would like to discuss only two because it is the most common. No, asphalt pavement. It is asphalt could be overlaid on a concrete pavement or on a prepared base course. So it shall consist. It is mostly consist of a bituminous concrete surface course composed of aggregates, mineral fillers, and bituminous material mixed in a central plant, constructed and laid hot on the prepared base. It is a flexible surface. So this pavement is ideal on newly open roads or maybe reclamation roads because where the base or it's not really that stable or there should be settlement at some time. So a flexible surface is more applicable and better. Okay, so for asphalt pavement construction methods, bituminous material application. So before applying the full width of the surface to be treated, it shall be cleaned of loose and foreign materials by means of power broom or blower supplemented by hand sweeping. It shall be applied by a pressure distributor. By the way, this bituminous material application is the usually prime coat or tack coat, So it shall be applied by a pressure distributor. All areas inaccessible to the distributor shall be treated manually using a device for hand spraying. Upon application, any excess shall be blotted by sand or removed. So it is not good to over apply bituminous material because it will result into defects like bleeding. Traffic shall be kept off in the treated area at all times. Otherwise, it shall be cleaned and sprayed. The distributor pump shall be equipped with a gauge registering liters per minute passing through the nozzles. There are two types of bituminous materials. Item 301, the bituminous prime coat, which is usually cutback asphalt. It is a low viscosity bituminous material applied to the obstructed surface to penetrate bond and stabilize the existing surface before laying the asphalt mix. The rate of application shall be within the range of 1 to 2 liters per square meters. Again, it's not good to over-apply. Item 302 is a bituminous tack coat, emulsified asphalt, usually. It is applied between 2 layers of asphalt. Tack coat is a very light application of bituminous material to ensure proper bonding between 2 binder layers. The rate of application shall be within the range of 0.2 to 0.7 liters per square meters. Next is the bituminous seal coat. It is a bituminous surface that results from one or more successive alternative applications of bituminous binder and cover aggregate in order to seal an existing paved surface. Bituminous material shall be, by the way, this item 203, bituminous seal coat, this is usually used in correction of minor defects. So there are bituminous materials. Bituminous material shall be asphalt cement, and the penetration grade should be 85 to 100. That is the most practical and most applicable for our country, which is very hot or tropical. No? Also, you have rapid curing, cutback asphalt. So item TO3, it shall be applied at a rate of approximately 0.9 to 1.8 liters per square meters for asphalt cement and 1.5 to 3 liters for cutback asphalt. Okay, the next is the bituminous concrete surface course. So hot laid. This is the asphalt pavement itself. We have two kinds. So binder course and the wearing course. So binder course, it is usually the more sturdy layer of surface applied before wearing course to reduce rotting. It supports the wearing course. Wearing course, it is laid over the binder course. It is usually more smooth and finer than the wearing course. So basically, they are same hot mix asphalt. The difference is the aggregates that is being used. The binder has coarser aggregates than the wearing course. No? So, construction method for bituminous concrete surface course. The bituminous concrete mix shall be laid by a self-powered asphalt paver to the specified thickness and width, true to line, grade, and crown as shown in the plan. So as of now, technologies are very advanced already. There are asphalt pavers capable of sensors and advanced technologies, no, that will produce better riding surface. So unlike before. Next, bituminous concrete mix shall be placed or layered at a temperature not less than 107 degrees Celsius. So if it's colder than that, usually it is as per the PWH standard, it is rejected. Immediately after the mixture has been spread, struck off, and surface irregularities are adjusted, it shall be compacted thoroughly and uniformly by rollers. First, rolling shall be performed by steel-wheeled rollers and to be finally compacted by a pneumatic roller to ensure smooth riding surface. Compaction shall begin at the sides towards the center with each strip overlapping one half width of the roller drum. Rolling shall continue until tire marks are eliminated and the compaction of at least 97% is achieved. Traffic shall be kept off the pavement until it has fully cured. Concrete pavement. It consists of a pavement of Portland cement concrete. So this is another pavement or surface course, which is a more rigid surface course. So it consists of a pavement of Portland cement concrete with or without reinforcement constructed on a prepared base. So for the concrete pavement construction, we have the preparation of the grade, which is usually the base. No, the grade on which the pavement is to be constructed shall be trimmed to proper elevation by means of properly designed machine extending work areas compacted at least 60 centimeters beyond each end line of the proposed pavement. So it should be extended 60 centimeters at least at the edge of the concrete pavement. No? If any traffic is allowed to use the prepared subgrade or base, if there are surface irregularities or settlements, it should be checked and corrected immediately prior to setting of forms. The subgrade or base shall be uniformly moist when the concrete is placed as to avoid fast hydration of the concrete. Next, we set the forms. The foundation under the forms or the base support shall be hard and true to grade. Form shall be installed in accordance to the design width, thickness, and grade, and alignment. When any form has been disturbed, the form shall be reset and rechecked. Now, this is the most common errors of contractors or road construction. They oftenly take for granted the setting of the forms, which eventually will result to uneven or erratic elevations or alignments of the road. This should be not taken for granted and should be emphasized during pavement construction. Next, the mixing of the concrete. The concrete may be mixed at the job site in a centrally mixed plant or in truck mixers. Of course, it is not allowed to retemper the concrete by adding water or by other means, except and only if the concrete is delivered in truck mixers and it's done within 45 minutes after the initial mixing or as approved by a materials engineer. So the limitation of mixing concrete not in place within 90 minutes from the time the ingredients were charged into the mixing drum or that has developed initial set shall not be used anymore. So we have a window time of 90 minutes before we can discharge our concrete mix. Placing of concrete. Concrete shall be deposited or placed in such a manner to require minimal rehandling. Do direct pouring if possible. Concrete shall be thoroughly consolidated against and along the faces of all forms by means of concrete vibrators. Concrete shall be deposited as near as possible to the expansion and contraction joints. For the test specimens, as work progresses, at least one set of consisting of 3 concrete beam test specimens by 150 mm shall be taken from each 330 square meters of pavement, 230 mm depth or a fraction thereof. So if you will compute, there's a volume for 330 by 230 that is for every volume you will need one set for concrete beam test. Right now the DPWH standard is 550 PSI flexural. That is what is required for road or the concrete pavements. Next, the strike off of concrete and placing of reinforcement. So following the placing of concrete, it shall be struck off to conform to the cross-section shown in the plans. The reinforcement shall then be placed directly upon the concrete, after which the top layer of concrete shall be placed, struck off, and screeded. Reinforcing steel shall be free from dirt, oil, paint, grease, mill scale, and loose or thick rust. So joints shall be constructed according to the type and dimensions and locations required by plans and or special provisions. Next, the final strike off, the consolidation and finishing. The placed concrete shall be strike off again, floated to remove, sorry for the wrong spelling, to remove the lightans, which is the milkish layer at the top of the concrete, to achieve the final surface finish. Straight edge testing and surface correction. So if there are any depression found, you put a straight edge on the top of the pavement, on the two side forms. So if there are any depressions, it shall be filled immediately with freshly mixed concrete. High area shall be cut down to refinished. So final finish, completed pavement should have a coefficient of friction of 0.25 or more. The corrugation produced in the surface shall be uniform in appearance and not more than 1.5 mm in depth. It shall be broomed when the water sheen is practically disappear. The broom shall be drawn from the center to the edge of the pavement with stroke slightly overlapping. So in our practice, we broom the pavement perpendicular to the center line. No, so that will give us the neat and better result. Next is the curing. This is very important for concrete pavement. No, as we all know, the usual methods is we put cotton burlaps, waterproof paper, stroke curing. But in our case, we use the impervious membrane method or the curing compound, no? And then there's also white polyethylene sheet that you can put on top of the pavement to avoid fast curing, fast hydration. So next, the removal of forms. Forms shall remain in place undisturbed for not less than 24 hours after concrete pouring. In case portions of concrete are spalled, they shall be immediately prepared with fresh mortar. Major honeycomb areas are considered a defective work. For the joints, we have longitudinal joints, which is along the roadway. No, then we have the transverse expansion joint and the transverse construction joint, or the weakened plane joint. So construction joint, the width should not be more than 6 mm, and the depth should not at all times not less than 50 mm, or usually it's 1/4 of the thickness of the pavement. Transverse construction joints, it shall be constructed when there is an interruption of more than 30 minutes in concreting operations. So if delayed ang mixer during pouring, no, and then nanay interruption of more than 30 minutes, you can create a transverse construction joint because it is expected na mo crack yun at the end of pita. So by the way, these joints are made to manage the cracks in the concretes. Okay, kung sa ato pang naibawaan ang apelido man sa concrete is liki man yun. So these joints are introduced to manage na diha na lang siya mo crack. And these cracks are sealed to avoid intrusion of water. So next, we have the load transfer device, the dowel. When used, shall be held in position to the surface of the center line of the slab. Transfer, construction, and sewed joints. It is created by sewing grooves in the surface of the pavement as prescribed in the plans. The depth of the joint shall be at all times again not less than 50 mm. It is usually 1/4 of the thickness of the pavement. In our practice, amog yun siyang as deep as possible na makakat ni, we cut it so that instead of the cracks getting everywhere or cracking everywhere, diha na lang siya mo crack sa contraction joint. Yeah. Sewing of concrete shall commence after the concrete has hardened. It is usually 4 to 24 hours, or in between 4 to 24 hours after the concrete's final setting. It's better to cut it within 24 hours. Of course, number one, para humok pa ang concrete, no, it's easier to cut and it's economical. And the material and the equipment you use for it is a concrete cutter or concrete saw. It is handheld. Next, the sealing of joints. Joints shall be sealed with asphalt sealants soon after completion of the curing period and before the pavement is open to traffic. The pouring shall be done in such a manner that the material will not be spilled. Excess asphalt fillers shall be trimmed and removed. Like I said, these asphalt joints, asphalt sealers for the joints, it is also important part of the concrete as it will prevent intrusion of water to the base material. So here are some of the asphalt paving equipments. We have the asphalt milling machine, asphalt distributor. Asphalt milling machine is used to remove existing asphalt to proper line and grade, and then this is the asphalt distributors. Next is the asphalt paver finisher. This is the double drum roller for the mas practical siya gamiton for asphalt pavement because it will not leave tire marks like the vibratory. So you also have the asphalt batching plant where the hot asphalt is being produced. For the concrete paving equipments, you have the excavator, which is usually used in clearing and preparation of base, road grader for base preparation as well. And then the vibratory roller, and then transit mixer for delivering the fresh mixed concrete, and the concrete batching plants. So road shoulder is another component of the roadway. It's very useful as well because it will protect your pavement from chipping and defects, especially in the edges. It provides space also to make evasive maneuvers. It accommodates drive error. It provides space for disabled vehicles to stop or drive slowly. It provides increased sight distance for thorough vehicles and for vehicles entering the roadway. Rural, in cut sections and brushy areas. In urban, in areas with many sight obstructions. Road drainage, it's also very useful, because a well-drained road is likely to last than those roadway without proper drainage. So as per DPWH standards, they have different kinds of drainages. Item 405, it is structural concrete line canal. Item 500, 5 culverts and storm drain. Item 501, the under drains. Item 502, manholes, inlets, and catch basins. Item 503, the drainage steel gratings with frame. Usually, it's in combination of these items are constructed in the road drainages. Here are some of the sample pictures of the road defects and failures, so that you will be kind of aware or enlightened. For asphalt pavement defects, we have cracks, alligator cracks, longitudinal, black, slippage, reflective, edge. There's also disintegration, such as potholes and patches. So here are the sample pictures. Alligator is like, it was derived from the skin of an alligator. Reflective is usually a defect coming from the bottom of the pavement, which is being overlaid. Slippage usually happens when there is overloading and or slopey terrain. Black cracks usually happens if there's a base failure, also in alligator cracks. Bleeding, this usually happens if the asphalt content of the asphalt mix is more than the required. So it's not good to over mix or over over put asphalt in an asphalt mix. Also, if you overused or apply prime coat and top coat, it might result to bleeding as well. Raveling is usually the opposite of bleeding. No, it's lesser asphalt content, and also the wear and tear of the pavement and water intrusions, delaminations, the bottom part. There are corrugations. No, these are the surface deformation of asphalts. Rotting. No. Usually it's constant overloading, showing base failure. This also from base failure, depressions, overloading could be a possibility also, or base failure or uncompacted base. For the concrete pavements, cracks. So there is corner cracks. Usually these corner cracks appear when the corner thickness is not equal to the thickness, no, of the pavement. You also have black cracks. Next, you have shrinkage. Shrinkage cracks is usually happens if the concrete is undergoing fast hydration. For example, you are pouring under the direct sunlight. No, it's the humidity is very hot. It is most likely to produce shrinkage cracks. Longitudinal cracks, you have transverse cracks and diagonal cracks. There's also deformation, joint stepping. It's differential and vertical displacement of abutting slabs and joints and cracks. Sa north, based on my experience, nakagi ko sa north, makabantay ta itong ligid sa itong sakyanan, magtingtingog. So this is the one, no? And also there's racking, vertical movement at joint when vehicle passes over. So if racking, usually there's an introduction of water sa base na siya, or magpumping na on base. That's why it's racking. So there's also joint sealant defects, no, loss and or cracking of the seal, resulting in foreign materials in the joints. Extrusion of sealants, leaving mold at joint. So if there are sealant defects, usually it will result because ang joints na gibutangan or where the sealant is applied, it's not properly cleaned prior to the installation of the sealants. There are loose particles that are still there. No? Spalling, it's a breakdown or disintegration of slab surfaces and edges, joints, corners, or cracks. This usually occurs if the concrete is not yet fully cured, no, does not attain the strength, and then a load is introduced. There's also surface texture deficiencies, raveling, it's a progressive breakdown, roughening of the slab to depths commonly of 6 mm to 12 mm. There's also scaling. So scaling, usually, ang cause is kanang not enough cement content or too much water content in the job mix or in the actual mixture. Also, another practice that we should be doing, which is discussed by Sir Jerry earlier, is the road construction safety. So I also emphasize it because it is also important. So we have road construction safety elements that is very vital, like road safety signages, traffic control devices, temporary lighting, and also traffic controller. So signs for work sites, we have advanced warning signs, regulatory control of traffic, detours, road conditions, and hazards, lanes and road closures, blasting, pedestrian control. So traffic control devices, you have traffic cones, traffic bollards, hazard markers, barrier road boards, safety barriers, temporary crash cushion, containment fence, lightweight plastic units, tapes, portable traffic signals. Traffic controller, so it is the one who ensure the safety of road workers and users, to ensure that there's a clear path for road machinery and to ensure there's good public relations. They should be wearing proper reflective clothing. So this is an illustration of how far can you see if a person is standing. No? If the person is wearing dark clothing, and if you're inside your car, you can see him or her at 30 meters. So if it's orange, you can see him or her at 30 meters as well. But if white, from 90 meters afar, you can already see the person. But if he or she is wearing a reflected clothing, you can see the person up to 200 meters. Okay, so that concludes my topic for this afternoon. And I hope I was able to impart some of my knowledge to the participants. And on the second note, I would like to thank the officers of the PICA Cebu chapter for inviting me to become their resource speaker. Thank you, and God bless everyone.